Well, I was over at my friend's house and we found some beer and drank it, and we liked it.
Once I drank some, and it had a terrible effect on me. That night I had nightmares, and the next morning I felt sick.
My parents let me have a little wine with dinner.
These young people, like many others your age, have tried alcohol.
It hasn't had any harmful effect on me in the past, and I don't think it will.
I tasted alcohol a couple times, and it's not really a good thing and I don't really see what people see in alcohol because it really doesn't taste that good.
I knew somebody that got into a lot of trouble drinking.
They offered us, all of my cousins and I.
The decision to use alcohol or not is one which you alone must make.
I like that.
One drink can't really hurt you. It depends on the individual person.
The use of alcohol is an accepted practice by much of society today. Watch and listen. Why do you think people drink? Why do they start? And what problems might result?
I started drinking when I was about 13 years old, and I started because most of my friends were drinking, and it just seemed a thing to do because everybody else was doing it.
I guess I must have been about 12 years old. I was in the 7th grade, and I had my first beer. I didn't really like the taste. Me and a friend, we went in our house when there was nobody home, and we took a few sips, and he kind of liked it, but I really didn't like it.
Up until, well, late high school, I never had much experience drinking, and then it was just a few of us getting together and having a couple of beers or something like that.
I started drinking when I was in high school, I guess, and I really enjoyed it. I got to go to a lot of parties. I enjoyed getting high. There was no problem at all. It was a lot of fun.
Well, I work at the bank, and really some of the people that come in there really get me uptight, and so when I go home I can relax with a nice martini, and I don't think it does any harm.
When I have an important meeting, sometimes I have a drink because it peps me up. It helps me to get up for the meeting.
It helps me to be more me. So I really don't see anything wrong with taking a drink or two.
It helps some people, and it makes them relax a lot more than just living without it.
It's important to know how much you can drink and to choose the friends who you drink with carefully. Drinking can be a very bad experience if you're not sure of how much you can drink. It can make you very sick and lead to many unpleasant experiences.
I think people should do exactly what they want, and if alcohol is what they dig doing, well then keep on doing whatever they dig doing, whatever it might be.
I just don't think you should drink to be accepted. If you like drinking, fine. And if you want to drink, fine, but not too much. It's not good for your health, and it's just not. You shouldn't do it just to be accepted by people. You should do it because you want to do it.
I'm not against the use of alcohol, but I think that if you abuse it, you're in good danger of becoming an alcoholic.
We had a 14-year-old come to a church group I was in who had already, you might say, be classified as an alcoholic. They'd been drinking for almost 3 years, along with a few drugs. And it had taken them only 3 years, and by the time they were 14, to become what we call an alcoholic, a person who could not stop drinking.
I would say that drinking in itself is no problem. It's when it gets to excess that it becomes a problem.
My father was an alcoholic, and it broke up the home. My younger brothers and sisters had a really rough time of it. I was the oldest, and so I was out of the house before it really affected me, but my parents' marriage broke up, and as far as I'm concerned, I won't touch the stuff.
And after I got out of high school, I got a job. I didn't interfere with my job at all. I drank after work, social drinking, and I still didn't mind it at all. But then, after a while, I started to lose my appetite and some other symptoms, and I've always been a hearty eater, and I wondered what was the problem, so I went to the doctor. And he made it pretty clear to me that it was alcohol that was affecting my body, and that if I wanted to get rid of the symptoms, I would have to stop.
Sometimes I maybe stopped for a week, maybe 2 weeks, but when I got back with my friends, I just didn't care. I just, went out and got drunk again. So the only thing I could really say was that once you start, it's really pretty hard to stop.
And I started thinking, why am I drinking like this? What good is it? I get sick all the time. I have the shakes. I start sweating.
I think one of the big problems is advertising, how they glorify it on the television and in magazines and on billboards. they make alcohol look like a really good thing that will make everything you do better.
What had happened, and he said that the only reason that there was an accident was because one of the drivers had been drinking.
I don't really have an opinion on alcohol because I haven't really been around people who are drinking, and the only part I've heard, the only thing I know about alcohol is what I've heard and seen and read, stuff like that. I don't really see what good alcohol is.
Well, if you start drinking alcohol, it could become a habit, and that could be very dangerous. You could become a compulsive drinker, and it will really become a lot of trouble.
Well, I hear a lot of kids at school talking about alcohol and drinking and how they see their parents drinking and lots of their friends, but in the long run, I think it's your own individual decision to make whether you want to start drinking or not.
Grown-ups are the one who should take it, not kids, because it's mostly for grown-ups. And plus, they should watch how much they're drinking.
One time, I was with my dad, and we saw a man who came out of a bar, and he could barely stand up, and it wasn't really that good of a thing to see.
Well, my father, he used to drink quite a bit, and my mom just didn't like him making a fool of himself in front of everybody. So she decided to divorce him. She divorced him, and I went with my mom. And that was about 3 years ago, and I haven't seen him since, and I really miss him. I wish he hadn't started drinking.
When you read your papers, you read so much about violence around your town. And I think it's mostly caused by people who drink. And so I think that if there was less drinking, there'd be less violence and crime.
I have a friend, and whenever I go over to his house, his mother always seems to have a drink in her hand. She's always drinking. And it just makes a nervous wreck out of her because any little thing that goes wrong, like I've seen her once when she was drunk, a pan dropped, and she ran out of the house yelling that she couldn't stand all the noise. And sometimes if she doesn't like a book that she's reading, I saw her try and rip it in half and rip some of the pages out of it. And even when she's not drunk, it's still, I know it destroys some of the brain cells, and sometimes I can see an effect on her even when she's not drinking.
You know much of society depends on the use of alcohol, and you know that the misuse of alcohol can cause problems. But the decision is yours.